Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to summarize what you've learned so far in using the edu.duke library of iterables to create simple Java programs that have some real power. You have learned how to use two iterables from the edu.duke library, file resource and URL resource. You've seen how these iterables are used in practice by modifying existing programs and learning the knowledge and skills to write your own programs. You'll learn to read the documentation that comes with these iterables, which is called JavaDoc. And you'll read the documentation that comes with other libraries as well. The Java language is supported by Java libraries. These are collections of classes and code that you can use in creating programs to solve problems. The java.lang library is the standard library that's automatically part of all Java programs. Using strings and printing them in your programs is possible because the code for these is in the standard java.lang library. You've also used the edu.duke library with two iterables. As you'll see in later lessons, there are more iterables in the duke.edu package or library. There are also more Java libraries that you'll use as you gain experience in programming. The class file resource in the edu.duke library makes it simple to do powerful things with files. We'll use this example from our Hello Around the World program to summarize how the file resource class works. You'll need to call new to construct a file resource object as shown in this code. You construct the object using a string that's the name of the file that your program will open. You'll see in a later course that you can use a file to create a file resource object too. You access the contents of a file resource object with the standard pattern of using a for loop with an iterable. This code shows that the file is accessed one line at a time using the method lines. Notice that methods always have parentheses with them. Thus, you can tell the difference between a variable and a method by whether it has parentheses or not. For example, in our code, line and hello are both variables. Neither one have parentheses. Now note that lines is a method. It has parentheses immediately following it. We could also call this method dot lines. Do you see the dot right before the word lines? In hello.lines, note that hello is a variable of type file resource, so dot lines indicates lines is a file resource method. There are other file resource methods we could use. For example, you could access a file resource one word at a time using the method words. And it's even possible to access the entire file as one string using the file resource method asString. In later lessons, you may have a use for that functionality. Although you haven't used all these methods, we're summarizing them here to remind you that in reading documentation, you may find methods that you haven't used yet. This is similar code to the example we just saw, but this code uses the URL resource class from the edu.duke library. Just as with the file resource class, you construct a new URL resource by using new. One difference is that you construct a URL resource with a string that's a valid URL. That's a little different from how a file resource is constructed. You access the contents of a URL resource in precisely the same way that a file resource is accessed. The big difference is that the contents of a URL resource come from the World Wide Web via a URL, not your computer via the name of a file. You can access the contents one line at a time using the URL resource method lines. You could access one word at a time using the URL resource method words. And just as with a file resource, you can access the entire web page as a string using the method asString. Thank you.